Hey everyone, welcome in to another daily editorial here on the KE Report. And this is another video daily editorial as we are getting an update from Skeena Resources, traded on both the TSX and NYSE under the symbol SKE. I am chatting with the company's Vice President of Exploration and Resource Development, Paul Geddes. And we are going to be focusing on a news release that came out just yesterday, January 19th. Dealing with or outlining some recent drill results from the 2021 exploration program at the Eskay Creek Project in the Golden Triangle of BC. Now, just to remind everybody, this 2021 exploration program, which is carrying over into this year, I believe, was focused on regional exploration. So the company is going out trying to find some other deposits, other assets that can be tacked on to the overall mine plan at Eskay Creek. Paul has put together a handful of slides for us to walk us through these recent results. Now, dealing with this regional exploration program, you're going to have some misses and you're also going to have some hits, hopefully. And in that news release from yesterday, the company outlines this new discovery, this 23 zone, as well as a couple areas that you drilled and, quite frankly, didn't hit anything. So time to move on from those. Paul, start us off, please, with general overview of this regional exploration program.
Right on. Thanks, Corey. Appreciate you having me, and Happy New Year to you. Just to remind your listeners, the idea was that we initiated a regional exploration program in 2021. Now, the reason we decided to do that is because we'd been so focused on de-risking the main open pit and converting all the resources to reserves for the feasibility study that we didn't have a chance to spread our wings, really. But now that we've completed those tasks, we're off to supplement the open mine plan. And our target is, very attainable 1 million ounces, we believe, at greater than a gram per ton gold equivalent. And because we're contemplating a truck and shovel open pit mining fleet, we're after shallow pitable resources. So material that fits that grade criteria that's less than 200 meters vertical depth. Now, that's not to say there isn't underground potential, but it's a lot more capital intensive to be drilling deep holes to put together an underground resource. We've got a lot of targets that are basically ripe for the picking and low-hanging fruit, as you'll see here in the 23 zone. And the other thing too is proximity to site infrastructure is obviously nice. Our 23 zone, which I'm circling here in the red, occurs only 200 meters away from the existing open pit. We had allocated 35,000 meters to the entire program, of which we drilled about 37% of that. And our targeting is very pragmatic. We're not after geological or academic curiosities. We're here to find ore. We're here to find feed for the mill. So let's talk about the elephant in the room, the Eastern Limb targets. These were tremendous targets at the time, golden soil anomalies, coincident with extremely favorable geology, alteration, all those other considerations. Unfortunately, we put those 8 drill holes in there and we got, a little skunked. We didn't see anything. Now, that's not to say that we sanitized an entire area. It's just that in these specific locales, we didn't see what we needed to see. The other targeting that we had performed was down around the 22 zone. The concept was we were trying to expand that towards the southeast, where it intersected into the lower and the even lower mudstones. And we did intersect some good stuff. However, it just wasn't of the quantity and quality that would make it open pittable. There just wasn't enough continuity with the grade or thickness. Now, having said that, you keep on taking shots on goal and you get into areas like the 23 zone. This area actually had been drilled historically by previous operators, and there was a large gold and soil anomaly, again, favorable geology, and as the old adage goes, gold is always where you find it, basically in the shadow of a head frame. So what we'll do now is we'll just take a look at that section, that's section 10060 north, and looking north, here's the 21A zone on the left-hand side. This is a slice of what would be the PFS pit limits. These are our rhyolites. And you can see the historical drill holes that have pierced through this section. And it's a fairly wide section. It's 30 meters on each side, so 60 meters total. You can see here that the grades aren't that fabulous. 0.84 over 8 meters, 1.2 grams over 6. anybody in their right mind would probably walk away from this area and say, well, there's nothing here. Unfortunately, what happened is our former operators were always very selective when they sampled their drill holes. So as an example, Skeena samples their drill holes from top to bottom. So we don't miss anything in mineralization that just doesn't visually look good. However, the historical operators always focused on what did look good. So if they saw sulfides or visible gold or what have you, that's what would go in the bag. And unfortunately, none of this core exists anymore. Otherwise, we would have just simply returned to these holes and resampled them ourselves. Now, the existing data does not necessarily indicate any potential. However, if we go in and repopulate this, this is the new 23 zone outlined by our recent drilling, in which we did perform top to bottom sampling. You can see that here, hole 947, 2.3 grams per ton over close to 60 meters is literally only meters away from these very narrow low-grade intersections from historical programs in the 90s. It's just testament to being persevering really through and using good science to guide you and being pragmatic about how we can explore. We're very, very excited about this again, because it's only 200 meters away. It's very early days. We've only got the 3 holes into this at this point in the game. What's also nice is that it's clean mineralization. So we don't see those impurities. There's no mercury, there's no antimony, there's no arsenic. Again, it starts only 15 meters below surface. Bottom depth is maybe about 120 meters vertical, and it's still open along strike, as well as up dip and down dip. Because again, this drill hole here, 1.2 over 6 meters, is that the truth, or is that just a function of the lack of sampling?
Okay, so I think that's a key point to touch on, because this image, or one similar to this that is in the news release, when I first saw it, I thought, okay, well, you found this new zone, but right now, at least the way you have it outlined here, it's, let's say, 100 meters wide by maybe 100 meters in depth. So some people would think that's a bit small, but what you're saying is that this is maybe the conservative way to look at it, because it is open in what sounds like every direction.
That's correct. That's correct. I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver here, but you know, the material up dip is untested by drilling, and we still see the same favorable geology. There's no reason why there shouldn't be something there, as well as potentially coming down dip as well. What's most favorable, that again, is it's so shallow and proximal. One of the things that people could come back to us and say is, well, Paul, I've got Eskay Creek syndrome. I'm used to seeing, your intersections of 5 grams per ton over 100 meters. How is this actually potentially going to fit into the mine plan? Well, if we look at our 22 zone, which has been drilled off, we're looking at basically the same style of mineralization. It's hosted in the rhyolites. It's a feeder zone. There's no super high grade contact mudstone, which contributes to an extreme tenor. However, we're still looking at grades that are quite similar, like, 2 grams per ton over 21 meters, 3.33 over 50. There is some variability. And again, this is economic material. But if we also want to feed that into the larger mine plan, so this is based on the pre-feasibility. If we look at the 10-year plan across the bottom here, you can see the gold equivalent ounces per year that are produced. And the yellow bar is the yellow line is the grade of the material. So in year 6, we could be adding something like the 23 zone, which, maybe runs 1.5 to 2 grams per ton into there to increase our throughput and our production rate. Okay. We could also be entering in Albino Lake once we get that material taken care of. But the best part, though, is that with Eskay Creek, grade is king. So when we start off in the early years, we're mining 5 gram a ton material. Our payback is incredible, of only 1.4 years. The mill is done, it's ready to go. We can start looking at lower grade material to push through the plant.
So it's really about expanding or extending on the mine life then, right? Because you do see a big drop off there at year 10, but if you can add, I guess, any ounces or any material that is, as you said at the beginning, over 1 gram per ton, that would, I guess, help just continue to generate cash flow outside or past year 10?
That's correct. Yes. Yes.
Now, what about if you hit some higher grade stuff? You could always work that in high or earlier on in the mine plan, right?
Yes, that's correct. Again, depending on location and proximity, and that's more of an engineering problem.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Okay. Well, speaking of Albino Lake, we're still planning on finishing that one off. So as we put out a press release, I believe it was about a month ago, we kept intersecting more material in the old tailings facility. So what we're doing right now is we're currently building some safe ice because we're going to be mounting 3 drill rigs on that, and we're going to be drilling it off on 25-meter spacings. And what will that produce for us is indicated resources. We may not necessarily get any measured resources out of that, but the indicated will convert to probable reserves. And once all the engineering studies are completed, ultimately we'd like to put that into the larger mine plan. The proposed completion date for this is sometime in Q1 of 2022. However, we're facing a bit of global warming here, so our ice conditions aren't necessarily the best right at this second, but we're working on it and hoping to have 3 rigs mobilized much sooner than later.
How many meters do you think you're going to drill at that Albino waste facility then?
Meterage is a little bit up in the air. It's only because we don't know how deep the bedrock surface is from the bathymetry, but it's in the realm of 100 holes.
Okay. So then 2022 outlook, as you mentioned, you're a little over a third done with this regional exploration program. You've already made 1 discovery. So what comes next? When do you start drilling? Where are you going to be drilling?
Well, exactly. And again, only 13,000 meters have been completed so far. And out of that 13,000 meters, we've already outlined a new zone, which is great. Tremendous statistics, I think, on my end from an exploration perspective. Currently, we're not drilling. And based on the fact that, we had some duds in the 22 and in the eastern limb, we're doing a target reassessment, and we're going to reprioritize our drilling because we obviously want to expand on the discovery of the 23 zone and potentially even infill it and bring it into the measured and indicated categories. So we'll also be executing and finalizing that albino waste facility program in the first quarter of 2022. And then once that's complete, we'll continue with the regional program and get rigs in on the 23 zone and all of the other high priority targets that we didn't manage to get into in 2021. The other thing to note too is labs are still, courtesy of COVID and supply chain shortages and also highways being disrupted and not being able to get our samples down to Vancouver, we still have outstanding results. So there is still some news flow.
Okay, so news still coming out of drilling from last year. Approximately how many more targets do you have in this general regional exploration program to test?
Oh, if we were to do lumping, I would say greater than 10 additional targets.
Okay. And you have all the drills tied up. They're all committed to the program this year when you can get it started?
That's right. We learned our lessons from last year. Again, getting a drill wasn't a problem, but getting drillers was a problem. So we've pre-secured everything.
Yeah, we've heard that. It's a industry-wide issue. It's actually a global issue, just getting the people to do it. So then, Paul, I guess just to wrap us up here, you've taken us through the new discovery, and you will be further drilling that new discovery, plus all these other targets. What do you want investors to watch for as you continue on with the second or the last half, even more than half of this drill program?
Well, we're hoping that once the assays come in, we've got some far field targets, potentially, other discoveries, as well as we also have some holes that are awaiting in the 23 zone that were step out holes. So we should be seeing something there as well as the albino waste facility. We should be seeing some tremendous numbers coming out of there because, again, of the continuity that we've seen so far, and then ultimately a resource on that.
Okay. Paul, I appreciate the update. Thank you again for putting together these slides. I know that they do help people kind of visualize the work that you guys have done. And that was very interesting to see the progress that you made at the 23 zone, considering what the initial drill results from some past operators were. So if anybody has any follow-up questions, please email me, fleck@kereport.com. I will get Paul and the team over at Skeena to address those, and we will follow up as more news hits the market, which does sound like more drill results will be coming. Paul, thanks again for your time. Thank you for the update, and keep us up to date on future news.
Okay, thanks so much. Stay safe.